Hi Energy Fam, it's Melissa again. I am going to show you guys some more drills today. For today, we are going to be doing some back bending. So if you haven't already, maybe try to do this outside, get some fresh air. We have been blessed with some good weather this week. We are going to need a couple props. So you can be creative in your props, but if you have yoga props at home, you can use them. We're just gonna need a blanket, a sweatshirt, a towel, anything that can be a little bit of a bolster. This will help stabilize you in some of the back bending movements. Then, if you have your handy dandy blocks, those will be helpful for some. Those will be helpful for modifications. If you don't have these, you could also use textbooks. You could use anything that's sturdy enough that gives you just a little bit of height. And identical objects if you can find them. Last one is a strap. If you don't have a strap, you can use a belt, a shoelace, even if you twist a towel, you could get it. We're just gonna need it to help us assist if you can't reach your foot in some of these postures. So, for back bending, the key to back bending is obviously our spinal flexibility, our shoulders, opening our chest. So that is gonna come in. If you don't have that flexibility right now, that's okay. We're gonna provide some modifications. If some of these postures are too challenging, just do a less challenging posture. Really practice on that. And you should never be in pain in these back bends. We're trying to find ease through some tension, breathing through that. If there's any pain, do not push it further. Back bending is supposed to be semi-relaxing, but challenging. Also, what I am not going to be doing today is some core strength, but a key factor to being stable and protecting your spine in these back bends is having a lot of core strength. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys. You guys got some time on your hands. Get that core in. Do at least 5 minutes every day. If you do that for the next month, I promise you, you're going to see huge results. All right, so first pose. For time's sake, I'm only going to do these poses on one side, but always repeat what you do on one side on the other. So first one is going to be a twist. If a seated position is not super comfortable for you, you can take that blanket, bring it underneath, give you some height in this seated position. If this is still not super great for those knees, you can come to a staggered stance. Again, if your hip's a little bit off the ground, you can take that blanket, bring it underneath, feel a little bit more stable. All right, so whether you're cross-legged or stagger stance, we're gonna bring the right hand to the left knee. Left hand comes behind. Sit up nice and tall, pushing through those hips all the way through the crown of the head, and gently begin to pull with that right hand as you softly gaze over that left shoulder, trying not to strain the neck here, and really try to roll open that left shoulder. Open up the chest and the collarbone. And keep the core squeezing, suck in that lower belly, those lower ribs. Every inhale, get a little bit taller, and every exhale, pull, try to sink a little bit deeper. Good. Holding that for a couple breaths, do it on each side. Next one, you might want that strap, belt, shoelace, towel, whatever you have. We're going to do some shoulder, upper back mobility. So I'm going to turn to the side so that you guys can see a little bit better. We're going to hold that strap with the right hand, bring it up overhead. Left hand is going to wrap behind the back, grabbing onto that strap. Good. Now from here, the key is we want to sit nice and tall, so no hunching and rolling forward. No pressure on the head or the neck. Elbows are energized, lengthen from the hips all the way through to the crown of the head. Now begin creeping those hands towards each other on the strap. Again, trying not to round, keep the chest open. Those elbows should be pressing backwards. Good. Now if you have that flexibility, you might be able to get those fingers together. You can go for a bind, bringing those fingers together. You might not even need the strap. But just make sure, again, we're not putting any pressure on that head or neck. Sitting up nice and tall, pressing the elbows and the arms behind us, open up that chest. Excellent. And then slowly releasing. Again, I'm only showing one side, so the other side would be left hand overhead, right hand going beneath. All right, next one, eagle arms. I'm gonna stay to the side again so you guys can see. So we're gonna bring our right hand under the left arm, try to stack those elbows on top of each other. Now you might stay just like this, creating a little X with those elbows stacked. If you can't even get the elbows stacked, that's fine. Just try to cross those arms as much as you can, energize through those fingertips. Now if you feel that you can, start to press the backs of the wrists towards each other, keep those elbows stacked. Maybe this is where you stay. If you can loop a finger onto the thumb, do so, or maybe wrap those fingers together, interlace, whatever feels most comfortable. Once you get that grip, hold on nice and tight. We're gonna start to lift the elbows away from the chest. Make sure you're not rounding or leaning back. Lift up nice and tall. Same thing as on the other side. Left arm under right arm, stack the elbows. Same deal. All right, next one up is a reverse plank. I'll start with the modification first. That's gonna be with bent knees. Those hands, the fingers can point in any direction. I generally point my fingers out just a little bit to externally rotate those arms so that I can open my chest a little bit further, but it's up to you and your flexibility, your comfort. So those feet are hip width apart. We're going to press through those hands, lift the hips up, drop the head back, core is nice and tight, pressing through those heels. And then slowly lower on down. If you'd like to make this a little more difficult, you can lengthen those feet, straighten them out, press through those heels, lift the hips, lengthen. Really trying to get the hips as high as you can. Open up that chest and lower down. If holding it in the air isn't great for you, you can pulse. Just try to make it slow, controlled movements. Next one, starting with the easiest bridge. Oh, that sun is bright. We're gonna bring knees and feet hip width apart, palms coming down to the sides. Snuggle the shoulder blades underneath you just a bit and start to lift those hips up. Nice long flat spine. We don't want to hyperextend here, really trying to just get a nice neutral back, squeezing the glutes gently, pressing through the palms, through the heels. If this is feeling good, you can go for a bind. You can walk those hands underneath, interlace the fingers, press the knuckles to the feet, try to lift through the heart. Good. Next step up. For me, since I have limited flexibility, I have to open my feet up a little bit wider, but we just want to be aware of our knees caving in or out, no matter where they're placed. We're gonna reach on down to those ankles, plant the feet, snuggle the shoulder blades underneath, and now this is the toughest bridge pose. We're gonna lift on up, try to shift the weight more over the shoulders than over the feet, but no pressure on the head or the neck. You can do pulses in any of these positions. Excellent. Slowly lowering on down. Give that spine a little massage, and then we're gonna flip on over. All right, next one. Depending where you want to pinpoint on your back, what part you want to open up, is gonna depend where your hips are gonna be placed. So I'll start with starting in a child's pose, which is gonna hit a slightly higher part of your back. So child's pose is with those hips all the way back to those heels. We're gonna plant the right forearm down, elbow under shoulder, cross it across the mat, parallel to the front of the mat. Now that left arm is either gonna come onto your hip. If you feel that you can, bring it behind the back. It gives you a little more leverage to really open up that shoulder. Good. Now from here, we're gonna pulse in this position. Keep those hips back. We're gonna lower, level our shoulders to the floor. Then we're gonna open, roll open that left shoulder. Good. You can also do this with an arm extended. So lowering down, Excellent. Same thing on the other side. Left elbow down, right arm behind. Now the next variation up, if you want to hit a slightly lower part of your back, you're going to come up a little bit further, hips over knees, elbow under shoulder, same thing, parallel across the mat. Now this time, bring that left arm behind, and this is a little more stabilization, really keeping that belly button tucking up towards the core. Lower level to the mat, then roll open. Lower, roll. Keeping strength in that base arm. You can also do this with the arm extended. Excellent. All right, next one. We're going to come on down to our bellies. Good. Now if it's not super comfortable on your belly, you can place this blanket underneath your pelvis to give you a little bit more of a softness or support. Thankfully, I am on grass, so it is very comfortable. So we're going to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. Forearms are parallel, pressing the palms into the ground. Press the tops of the feet into the ground as well. Now from here, all we're going to focus on is that upper middle back. So to do that, it's a very subtle movement. It's just from here, lift a little taller. Here, lift a little taller. So once you get that tallness, now I want you to dig those fingers into the ground. Imagine trying to pull your heart through those arms, pulling the elbows backwards. Thread that heart through. Make sure you haven't lost any height here. Keep that height, keep pulling, breathing. Press into the tops of the feet, slightly engage the glutes. Core is nice and tight. Good, and relax. All right, next step up is cobra pose, a little bit deeper of a back bend. Those hands are gonna come near the chest, elbows pinned to the side. Now in cobra pose, you do not have to straighten your arms. You can always keep a bend in them. Just make sure the elbows aren't sticking out. They're keeping tight to your sides. So on your inhale, start to lift through the head and the neck. I like to lift my hands to make sure that I'm lifting using my back muscles first. Then I plant my hands and begin the journey up. You can pause anywhere, here, here, or fully extend those arms. Wherever you are, make sure the shoulders aren't rolling, caving forward. Open up that chest, the shoulder blades sliding down the back, pressing into the tops of the feet, belly button and lower ribs sucking in. And then slowly lower on down. Good. All right, pressing on up. If you have blocks or a pile of textbooks, even a couch or a chair could work for this next one. We're gonna take those blocks and we're trying to really deepen this puppy pose coming up. So to do that, we're gonna place our elbows on the blocks. So the higher you make the blocks, the less stable it's gonna be, but obviously the more height. So choose a height that you feel comfortable with, that you don't feel like you're gonna fall. And we want to imagine the elbows slightly coming in towards each other so that the blocks don't fall to the outside. So coming on in, we're gonna start knees hip width, hips stacked over the knees. Bring those elbows onto the blocks. You see how they wiggle? We want to try to prevent that wiggle as much as possible. I like to get pretty high up on those blocks so that the rest of my tricep can lie on those blocks. Then from here, I'm gonna start to sink my chest down, lengthen, nice and long. You can even bend the elbows, bring the hands into prayer overhead. You get a nice big stretch in the armpits. Trying to relax into this posture. Again, making sure we're not bringing those elbows out so the block starts to tip. Try to keep the elbows inwardly gravitating to keep them centered. Beautiful. Next step up is dolphin pose. So dolphin is another heart opener, good strengthener for those arms. Elbows are under shoulders. I like to bring my fingertips slightly towards each other. Gives me a little more stability. Tuck my toes under, lift my hips up, dolphin pose. Now you can bend into those knees if you need to. Just keep that back nice, flat, and long. And we don't want the weight over those arms. We want the chest pushing towards the feet. So wherever feels comfortable for you, really lift, lengthen. Push that chest to those feet. Open up those armpits. Excellent. Dolphin pose. All right. Next up, we're going to loosen up those legs. So we're going to come into a lunge, a low lunge. So we're going to bring left foot forward, left knee's over that left ankle. And if you're already feeling some tension, don't go much further than this with the knees. If you feel that you want to go a little bit deeper, you can slide that back knee a little bit further back. Now, I don't much mind if the foot is in front of the knee, but I really don't want the knee to be over the foot. So I don't want this happening. I'd rather have this happening. We're really focusing on the hips more than anything right now, trying to open up the front of that right leg. So from here, you can keep your hands on the ground. If you have blocks, give a little bit of height. Otherwise, I'd really like you guys to try to get some balance. Keep those hips pushing forward and down, lengthen nice and long. If you can come into this balance, you can challenge yourself, bring your hands to prayer, turn towards the leg that is in front, and turn back. Turn towards that leg, turn back. Working on that spinal flexibility, that core strength, while stretching those hips. Good. Keeping those hips still stretching. I know you're probably feeling some type of burning. Try to bear with me. Keep that core strong. We can come into crescent lunge, bringing those hands up overhead. You can interlace those fingers if you'd like. Make sure we're not crunching up near the ears. Drop the shoulders down and shift your gaze up towards those hands. You'll start to feel a little more wobbly. Try to rebalance. Find your center. Squeezing the inner thighs towards each other. And if you'd like to come into a back bend, begin to trace. Push the hips further forward. Lengthen even higher. Trying not to collapse into the lower back. Get nice and tall. Lengthen. A little wobbly. Good. And come on down. Excellent. Last one. If you don't have a cushion under that back leg, you can also use that blanket again. Give a little bit of softness under that knee, especially for this next one. All right, for this next one, I like to prop my left arm on that front leg, bend that right knee, and you might already feel the stretch just bending the knee. I kind of feel the stretch already because I'm a little tight today. Then, if you can, bring that right hand back to that foot. If you can't reach, you can use that strap for some assistance. Loop it around the foot or the ankle. Woo. Good. And then let it, whoa, I'm very wobbly today. Let yourself pull that leg. So strap or hand. This will be a nice big opener to the front of that right leg. And then when you're ready, nice and slow, bring those legs on back. Give them a jiggle. Again, make sure you're always doing what we do on one side on the other side. All right, next up, another leg opener, front of the body, hero pose. So if you have that block or those textbooks, even if you have a really thick blanket, you could use those. We're gonna bring the knees wider than the hips, feet also wider than the hips. Our goal is to send the hips between the feet so we can come down. If this is too much for those ankles, you can grab a block to sit on. If you need even more height than that, you can bring 2 blocks up, sit on back, as long as you're feeling a nice big stretch in the fronts of those legs. Now, if you don't need those blocks, we can deepen this pose, sitting those hips all the way back. I should scoot up so you guys can see me. I still have the strap on me. Good, sitting up nice and tall. I like to grab onto those feet and one at a time, lower down onto my forearms. Good. I can stay here, or I can do a little bit of a back bend, pressing my heart open up that collarbone, let my head dip back. Good. If you want to go even deeper than this, you can lower yourself all the way down to the ground. Making sure you never push yourself further than your body can handle, understanding that every day might be different. Take it slow. Start with the modifications and then build your way up. This one's also going to be a huge ankle stretch. Good. The safest way to come out of here, hold on to those heels or feet again. Scooch those elbows underneath and either one or both at the same time, press yourself on up. Once you're onto your elbows, up onto those hands, and come on forward. Give a little jiggle to those ankles, roll out those ankles. Good. All right, next one up, camel. So now we're starting to really get into those more challenging back bends. If this is too uncomfortable for you, take your time. My phone just had a message, sorry. All right. Take your time with these back bends. Work your way up, build that strength and flexibility first. If you would like to try out camel, it is helpful if you have some blocks. So, same as I said before, the higher you put the block, the less stable it's going to be. It's going to rock. The lower you put it, the less height you have. So I like to kind of put it on the medium height. We're going to lengthen up nice and tall. You can tuck the toes under or bring them flat, whatever feels best and more stable for you. Now the idea here is we don't want to collapse backwards into our back. We want to lift nice and tall and lengthen. So, starting with that left hand, pushing the hips forward. I'm going to reach on back as if I was reaching to the block, pushing my hips forward. If this is not tall enough for you, you can place it up on that higher height. Just be careful. Make sure you're nice and stable first. Don't put too much of your weight on it. Keep pushing those hips forward, lengthen up nice and tall, and your hand can stay down or you can bring it up overhead. Now the idea is we don't want to be collapsing backwards as we do this. The weight should not be on the shoulder. The weight should be pushing forward, opening up nice and big. Good. And to come out of it, make sure you don't fling out of it. Try to contract that core, nice and slow, release, come up. Same thing with the other arm. Push, lengthen, roll open the shoulder, reach back. Half camel. Good. To do full camel, and I should mention for half camel, you can reach to your foot if you would like, if you can reach down to there. All right, full camel. I'll start with the highest blocks. For me, I do have to actually lean back a little bit because I lack some flexibility, but once I get into the pose, then I push my hips forward. So I go one at a time, I lean a little back, get my grip on those blocks, then roll open the shoulders, push my hips. You can do it on the lower side as well. I lean a little back first, then push open. Wow, I'm very tight today. Good. You can also go all the way down to those heels. Open up nice and wide. I need to lean back for this. Press, open that heart up towards the sky. Good. Always squeezing that core. You can support yourself one hand at a time, coming up out of camel. If you feel that you don't need to bring the hands back, if you have enough strength in your core and your back, you can also try doing it without hands. So coming into your back bend, opening up, don't plant the hands, and then squeeze, come up. Pulsing. Good. All right, up to our last pose here. So we do have some modifications for wheel pose. This one requires a lot of arm strength, core strength, flexibility in all points of your body. So don't be frustrated if you can't do it on your first try. It takes a lot of time. It's a very strength-oriented pose. So to make it easier, you can put the blocks under your feet or under your hands. Any type of elevation might feel good for you. but I'm gonna demonstrate first without any props. So, flipping on over again. Make sure your palms are ready to go. I might even take off my socks so I get full grip into the mat. Now, my feet are hip width, knees are hip width, laying on back. I'm gonna press my hands up towards the ceiling, bend at my elbows, the thumbs stay pointing in towards my head. So here, bend, here. Now our elbows will want to cave out to the outside. Keep those chicken wings in. Keep the elbows pointed up towards the ceiling. Press through those heels just as we would in bridge pose. Push the hips up. Now you might be here. Practice here, just trying to push through those arms. If you can lift that head, you can come to here. Making sure those elbows are staying in, knees are staying in. And then if you can lift on up to that full wheel pose. Now, we often will see people kind of leaning back here because they don't have enough flexibility in their upper body and their chest and their back. That's okay, but I'd rather you practice coming down onto your head and trying to open up your chest first. If you can come up, start to push the chest and the weight over the wrist. Press, lengthen. This requires a lot of upper body strength. Sucking in that core, open up. Trying to internally rotate those legs, gently squeezing the glutes. And then to lower back down, bend the elbows, bend the knees, shake it on out. Good. All right, for those modifications, you can place the blocks under those hands. I also saw a cool funky one actually today. You can actually, if you have a wall right here, you can place the block at a diagonal leaning against the wall and get the same effect. I tried it out, it actually felt really good. It really opened up my back, my chest. Unfortunately, I'm outside, I don't have a wall, so we're gonna do it this way. So, giving a little space between those blocks so I can get my head down. Good. All right, now from here, I'm just gripping onto the edge of the block here. So once I get that grip, squeeze the knees towards each other, the elbows towards each other, lift on up. This is gonna help elevate, open up that back. If this doesn't quite do it for you, you can also, I'm getting tired from this. You can also place these under your feet as well. So placing them about hip width apart, feet coming down. Whew. Flip those hands, squeeze. Oh God, this is actually a little more difficult. All right, the getting up process is a little more difficult. So you might want to start here and then lift up onto those blocks. All right, there we have it. Oh my goodness, it's a lot warmer than I thought it would be. All right, so test those out. Like I said, back bending takes a lot of patience, more so than I think any other pose that is out there. Some people are blessed with a little more flexibility than others. Don't let that discourage you. Keep working with it. You will slowly but surely feel every part of that upper back, that upper torso opening up. So the idea here is to open up our hearts. That's the idea of backbending in yoga. So I'd also like to challenge you for a little more mental, spiritual challenge for this weekend. I challenge you to not only work on these back bends, but also work on opening your heart to others. You will commonly hear in yoga the phrase namaste. Namaste means the light in me sees and honors the light in you. So take that to heart. Try to find the light within yourself, find the light within others, and make it known that their light is appreciated, that your light sees their light. It's a very powerful, moving statement, and try to apply that to your life. Give a little kindness, a little generosity. I'd like to give a shout out to Tanya, who did the Rise and Grind on Wednesday. She had a huge amount of viewers, and she is making masks to donate. So I'm very proud to be a part of a family that looks out not only for each other but also for the rest of the community. And I hope you all are staying happy and healthy. Thanks for staying strong with us, and we all miss you so much. We love you. Namaste.